Today I'm going to be showing a tutorial of an updated version of my string of pearls hanging plant. Here are the colors I'm going to be using: white, green, and brown. You can really use any yarn that you want for this. It's a very versatile pattern. I like to use a 3.75mm hook. Make sure you have scissors and a darning needle. To start with the base of the pot, I like to use the brown color, and I'm showing you here how I start off with a magic circle. I know it's kind of a different method than most people use, but it really is like a brain twister for me, and I cannot figure it out unless it's this way. So then once you create the circle, you just want to chain one to keep it in position, move the little tail out, and then to continue on, you start to chain two. And then for this pattern, you want to insert 14 double crochets into the circle. So this is how you do a double crochet. You yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, and pull through two. I started to show you at this different angle. Apologies, I'm getting the lighting together. But the same thing, you just yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, and pull through two. And now you should have 2 double crochets plus the chain 2 that you created. So you're going to continue for a total of 14 double crochets in this hook. Here's what it should look like after 14 double crochets. Now you just get to pull the loop tightly closed. I like to really pull so it gets very tight. To finish off, you're going to insert your hook into the first double crochet, not the chain 2 space, and you're just going to insert a slip stitch. Here's what it should look like. To start row 2, you're going to chain 3, 2, 3, and then this is going to be an increase round of double crochets. So you're going to insert 2 double crochets into each stitch space. So here's the first double crochet, and then you're going to insert a double crochet into the same space that you just inserted your first one. So here's the second one. You're going to continue this pattern all the way around, inserting 2 double crochets into the same chain space, and since you started with 14 spaces, at the end of this increase round, you're going to end up with 28. Here I'm just going to show you a very close-up of what I'm doing. So you're inserting 1 double crochet, which is a loop over, pull through 2, loop over, pull through 2, and then you're going to insert another double crochet into the very same space. And continue all around. This is what it should look like, and you're going to fasten off the same way that you did before by inserting into the first double crochet with a slip stitch. And here's what you should have. Now we're going to create the brim of the pot going up around. So you're going to chain 2, and then I'm going to zoom in here. You're only going to crochet in that top loop, but this time you're going to insert a half double crochet. So you're going to yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on your hook. And you're just going to continue this all the way around, which is going to elevate the pot to go upwards versus just creating a big circle. So reminder, it's a half double crochet moving forward, and you're just going to insert it into that back loop, and this will create the edge, or like the brim of the pot. Here's what it should look like after doing a full round of that. Here's just a full view of creating the brim. Same way, finishing off the round, you're going to slip stitch into the first space, not the chain 2 space. For the next 3 rounds, you're going to do the exact same thing. You're going to chain 2 at the beginning of the round, and you're going to insert 1 half double crochet into every space. And then this is going to be the pattern moving forward. So you're going to do round 4, round 5, round 6, and round 7. And then I'll meet you back once you've inserted those rounds of half double crochets. Whew, this is what it should look like. Now you have a full-fledged pot. You're going to create the little lip of the brim. Similar process, you're going to chain 2, and then just so we've been doing before, you're going to insert now in the front loop half double crochets, and this is going to create a little lip that you can kind of bend over that looks like the lip of a little planter pot box. So you should be familiar with half double crochets by now. Just remember to only insert your hook into one of the little front loops, not both. That way when you flip it and bend it over, it's going to look, you know, like a structured little pot guy. And I'll meet you back once it's all done. Once again, we're just going to insert a little slip stitch into the first chain space, and then this is the very last thing you'll be doing for the pot. So you just want to kind of tie off your yarn. I like to pull it through, cut it off, pull it through into a little knot, and here you go. Here's an example of me flipping the little brim so you can see what we just created, and you have your little pot. I like to just pull through this with my little hook and kind of stuff it in the pot. You don't really need it anymore. It's just a nice way to kind of get it out of there. And you're all done. Now we get to create the lid of the pot. It's very similar to what we just did for the base. So you're going to start off again by creating a magic circle. Apologies. This is the hardest part of crocheting for me, is getting this together. So you're going to do the exact same thing where you chain 2, and then you're going to loop over and you're going to insert 14 double crochets just as you did when you created the base of the pot. So there's 1. Here's 2 double crochets, and continue on, and you want to do 14. And since I already showed you how to fasten it off, you know the process by now. For round 2, we're going to do something different though. We're going to chain 2, and then instead of increasing with 2 double crochets, we're increasing with 2 half double crochets. So that's 1 half double crochet, and then the second half double crochet in the same space. So you're going to still end up with 28 little stitches all around. It's just going to be a little bit smaller than if you were to do 2 double crochets into each space. So you're just going to follow this process all the way around, and I'll show you what it looks like. You're going to end the round the same as we've been doing the entire process with a slip stitch. And now you're finished with the lid, so you can kind of fasten off. I leave quite a long tail because this is what we're going to use to sew it in to the pot. And it should be around the similar size. So you can take any needle and you're just going to insert kind of like how I'm showing. It's kind of hard to explain, but you just want to do the very back loop and the very front loop and pull through. You can also stuff your pot. I ran out of stuffing, so I'm just using old yarn. I also like to collect like scraps of yarn sometimes to fill it, so that's also an option. A lot of craft stores will also sell kind of like bags of fluff that you can stuff things with, but this is a good method if you're running out or struggling like me. And then you just finish off, and then kind of to tie it off, I like to insert my hook like through, pull it out of the bottom, and that usually is pretty sturdy. This isn't like something I'm wearing, and I'm not gonna like tussle it around, so it should be good. And then you can hide the little end. I kind of just stuff her in there, and there's your little pot. Now we can get started on our string of pearls using the green yarn. You're going to start by creating a slip knot. I kind of follow the same process as I do for a magic circle because my brain physically cannot comprehend. And then this is where you can kind of do whatever you want. For this example, I'm going to show you what it looks like by chaining 40. Basically, the method for this is you can kind of chain as long or as short as you want the strings to be. So when I do it myself, I kind of vary in length each time I do it. For the first one, do 40. And then you're going to count 4 chains down from your hook and insert 4 double crochets into the 4th chain from your hook. So here's the first double crochet, and then the second double crochet in the same space, and then the third double crochet in the same space, and the 4th double crochet in the same space as well. Once you've done this, you're going to pull up that little piece of yarn and come back to it. You're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. In the very first double crochet, you're going to insert your hook. You're going to put your hook through the loop that you just left open, pull it tight, and you're going to slip stitch, pull through where you just inserted, and this is going to create the little pearl. And you're going to create these all along this row. So once you do that, you're going to slip stitch into the very next chain space. I had a little oopsie. This is so tiny and hard to do. So you just slip stitch. I had a lot of editing in this little sequence, so hopefully you can see my camera kept focusing because it's such a small space. So you're going to slip stitch for 4, and then I'll show you what to do once you've got there. Once you've done 4 slip stitches, you're going to chain 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you're going to do the same thing as you did before. You're going to count 4 chains down from your hook, and you're going to insert 4 double crochets into the same space. So here I am just showing you the insertion of the 4 double crochets into the same space. This is a pretty repetitive process. This is just how you create the pearl. You're going to do this all the way up this whole chain of 40. You're going to slip stitch 4, chain 6, insert 4 double crochets, insert your hook, pull through the loop, and then repeat. I'm just going to show you how it looks like this on the second round because it's going to be a little bit different than how you did it the first time. This is going to be the same. You're going to insert your hook, pull through the loop, pull it through. I like to kind of pull it a little tight. So this process is a little different because you want to attach what you just did back to the main one. So you insert, I can only really show you, it's hard to explain the loops. Insert through those 2 and then slip stitch. And from here you're just going to continue on by slip stitching 4. You can rewind and redo, follow it again, and chain 6. And I'll meet you once we're done with most of our pearls to show you how to add the next line in. After you've done all of your string of pearls, for the last like 5 or 6 spaces, I kind of just like to slip stitch because this is gonna drape over the side of your pot, so you really don't need to create a pearl like very close to where you began. So I'm just gonna slip stitch until I get all the way to kind of the very first chain that we started with. After slip stitching into the very first chain, you really don't have to do much to continue on. You just now chain a new row. For this one, I think I chained like 30 to show you what a smaller one would look like, so you can kind of have variations. So from here, if you're following along, just chain 30. Now you're going to follow the same process as you did before, sorry, inserting 4 double crochets into the 4th space from the hook. So you're just going to yarn over, loop through 2, yarn over, loop through 2, and you're going to follow the exact same process all the way around, and I'll show you what it looks like once you're completed. At the end, again, you kind of just want to slip stitch somewhere. It doesn't have to be perfect into where you started, and then you can continue on. For the next one, I might chain maybe 45 or 50 to just create a longer one, and you just follow the same process of creating the pearls all the way down, slip stitching, and then starting a new chain. Once you're done, you should have 2 kind of little pieces of yarn. I like to leave a bit off so that I can kind of attach it and sew it into the pot. Here's what I'm talking about with the variation of the pearls. Now I kind of just wing it here. You can do whatever you want. I kind of just, depending on the length of the yarn I have, sew it through both of those into the middle of the pot. You can attach it however you want. You can use a hot glue gun, you can sew it in, and then at the end I kind of just tie a few knots. I think I only filmed 1, but you can tie a few. You can like slip stitch it around, but here's what it should look like once it's attached. To start on the hanging rope, I like to cut 8 pieces of white yarn all the same length, tie it in a knot at the bottom, and then separate it by 2. So you should have 2 and 2 and 2 and 2, so it should be 4 twos total. And this is how you're going to get started off on creating the little like hanging basket portion. It's basically just tying knots. So sometimes I like to stick a little needle into the white little knot that I made so that things don't like flop around, and you'll see me doing that in the second clip, but I kind of just wanted to show you how tedious this is. If you have any tips on how to create little knots better in the comments, please let me know, because I literally hate doing this, but it looks so good after, so it's worth it. You just do that for every 2. And then the second time, now that you've created those knots, you're going to separate. It's hard to explain, you can kind of see what I'm doing, and then you're going to tie a little knot of those 2 to create this little kind of V triangle. And then you kind of just pull that up. You can move it around however you want. It takes a learning curve, some practice, but you're just going to do that all around. Here's what it should look like. You're going to do the same thing again by separating the 2 pieces, as you can see, and tying a knot. And this knot should kind of be at the little lip or like base of the pot, since this is the very last knot that you're going to tie. And again, you're just going to do this all around. And here's what it should look like once it's flipped over. I just like to tie a knot at the end. You can create a loop or a hook or anything you want. This is just my process. Here's your finished plant. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please tag me in any recreations. And again, thank you so much for supporting me.